everyone, welcome to Eliza Dragon's Dragon Tutorial. Whoa! Alright, welcome back. So to start off, I'm actually going to be making a face cast of my face. This is not a necessary step, but I will quickly show you how I did that. I'm going to pull back my hair and use some hairspray to make sure that none of the flyaways are getting into the plaster. And then I'm next going to take some Vaseline and heavily coat my entire face, especially my hair, baby hairs and eyebrows included. One thing that's important about this is to make sure that you have a friend on hand who's there for you to help you take it off, and just in general in case you get in trouble. I had a friend on hand who would help me take it off and who I could call for help when I needed, though they're not showing the video. But make sure you do this because you don't want to be risking anything. For the actual face cast, I will be layering down pieces of wet plaster bandages and rubbing it into my face so that it's nice and smooth and it doesn't have all of the holes. I'll be repeating this step over and over and over again until basically my entire face is covered. I will be covering my eyebrows, but no, you do not want to cover your eyes or your nostrils. I do not recommend the straw method unless you are a professional or, getting it done by a professional, in which case you're not doing it, so there you go. A face cast is not necessarily for this look. You can sculpt on a flat surface or a wig head, but I wanted this because I'm going to be reusing it for years to come. When you're done, it should look like this, and then coat it with a layer of wood glue. This is the actual plaster face cast that I poured plaster into overnight and then let it dry, and now I'm sculpting on it. Take your time with the sculpting process because you really want to build this up so that it looks as nice as possible. This sculpt will determine how your prosthetic will look, so take your time, like I said, and attend to the details. As you can see, I'm making the mouth kind of rigid. Not all of the details will come out, so you don't want to do texture, but you do want to have a nice base for it. Once you've laid down and you're happy with it, I'm using this non-drying clay, and so I'm going to be making it smoother by taking some water and just running over everything with my hands. Once it's as smooth as I want it to be, I'm also going to coat it with a thick layer of Vaseline so that when I start laying down the latex, it won't stick to it when I'm trying to take it off. Speaking of latex, I'm going to be taking my liquid latex and a disposable paintbrush and layering down the latex everywhere. Take your time with this. You want to make sure that each layer is completely dry before you do the next one, and a blow dryer will really help with this. I did not film every layer because that would take way too much time and footage, but I did somewhere around 7 to 8 thick layers. Also make sure to get all of the hard to reach areas and anything that will have a hard time coming off. Coat those things extra well. So, once you have your buildup of liquid latex that has dried, you're going to want to powder it extensively so that it's not sticky and won't stick to itself when you're trying to take it off. You're also essentially going to be doing this as you take it off, so when you start peeling it off, have a little brush on hand that you can dip in powder and then sort of push underneath the liquid latex. This will help it come off and make sure that when you put the prosthetic back on the mold, because you will be doing that for the painting process, it won't stick to the mold again. This entire process took me 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Yes, I did time myself, but I'm making a point that you really want to take your time with this and make sure that you don't tear anything. When you get to the mouth, you will have to turn it inside out, but that's okay because if it's thick enough and you've powdered it enough, you'll be able to turn it back around just fine. Okay, so once you've taken it off, you're actually going to put it back on. So put it back on, and then I'm going to be using this white paint. It's a water-activated face paint, so I'm going to get my brush wet and then coat the entire prosthetic in a layer of white. I'm also going to be coating the mouth in white, even though I'm going to be painting that later. Coloring it with a base of white will help this color stand out more than they would on a, yellowish color. Next, I created some teeth out of a white air-drying lightweight clay. I'm going to be covering those with a Bruise Wheel. I'm essentially dipping my fingers and a brush in the yellow color and unevenly coating the teeth in that. Because let's be real, this white dragon may be very white and icy, but there's no way it has good dental care, am I right? Next, I'm going to be coloring the mouth. I'm going to be using the Bruise Wheel to color it, and I'm going to be using first the dark black blue, which actually looks kind of bluish purple when it's in thinner layers, and then I decided that that wasn't fleshy enough, so I went in with the red. Take your time and build up the layers of color as much as you want until you're satisfied with the product. After that, I'm going to be taking the cream paints and the light gray and contouring the face. I will be doing the normal areas as the bridge of the nose and the cheekbones and the temples, but I will also be contouring the nostrils. Next, I'm using Glam & Gore's scale tutorial that she used in the mermaid tutorial for the NYX Face Awards, which is glycerin, water, and gelatin. And I'm going to be heating that up and mixing it and then taking a syringe and squirting out little scales onto a tray. I ended up making about 3 trayfuls for this entire look, and honestly, I could have made more. So make as much as your gelatin will allow, although remember that you can always reuse that. For the application of the scales, I'm going to be layering down a layer of liquid latex and then individually placing the scales onto that liquid latex. This is a time-consuming process, so put on some music, your favorite movie, and have that playing in the background while you do this. If you have different size scales, then smaller ones are great for the bridge of the nose and around the nostrils, and larger ones are great for the outside of the mouth and around the entire perimeter of the prosthetic. This will really help with a scaly look. Then, to tie it all together and make our white dragon white again, I'm going to be using the same white water-activated face paint and painting the entire thing. Then for the application of the teeth, I'm going to be putting down a small layer of liquid latex on top of the tooth and in the mouth, and then going around the edges of the tooth and the mouth with liquid latex again. Essentially, I'm creating fake gums for this. Go ahead and do this for all of your teeth, and then it should look something like this. Alright, so now on to the actual application, and before you ask, yes, I am wearing a shirt. Cool. Anyway, I'm going to be using this primer and covering not only my face, but my eyes, my ears, my neck, and my chest. Basically anywhere where paint is going to go, you want to have primer. This will really help your paint last. Then I'm going to be using the same white water-activated face paint from before and coating my entire chest and neck area. I'm doing a light wash of color first, and then going in more heavily on the neck.
Sherlock, say hi to the camera. Sherlock, say hi. Sherlock, say hi. Yeah. Here's the cutest kitten. He's 8 months old. His name is Sherlock because he's a super little.
Anyway, then I'm going to be moving on to my face, and I'm mostly hitting the perimeter of my face because that's where the prosthetic ends, but also make sure to heavily coat your eyes because those have cutouts, and, you know, a light wash across the rest of the face. Now we're looking sexy. Then I'm going to be doing a very similar process on my hair using the hair white, and I'm going to be laying that down and then rubbing it in with my fingers. I did about 2 thick coats. Then I'm going to be blending it all together with the white face paint and heavily powdering everywhere I just put down product. So, my face, my hair, my neck, and my chest. This will help set the makeup so that it doesn't run and also make it look better. Next, I'm going to be taking this light shimmery blue and lining my lower and upper lash lines. It won't be super noticeable when we have the prosthetic on, but it will make it pop. I'm also creating a slight wing in the inner corner and a slightly larger one in the outer corner. Then I'm going to be taking a slightly damp, fluffy brush for better pigmentation and using a lighter medium blue and a darker blue. I'm going in with the lighter color and creating a cut crease and then emphasizing the outer V with the darker blue. Next, I'm going to be taking the black cream paint and messily applying this anywhere where I think the slit's going to be on my face. I ended up not really needing this, but hey, it looks sexy, right? Then I'm going to be taking spirit gum and applying it to the inside of the prosthetic and also around the edges of my face where I know it's going to meet. Usually you would want to apply a prosthetic from the inside out, starting with the nose, but the nose doesn't actually really touch my face, nor does anything else, so I'm just doing this around the outsides of the prosthetic. Next, I created horns out of the same lightweight clay from before, and I applied them using spirit gum on the base, and then going around the edges with liquid latex just like we did for the teeth. After that, I'm going to be applying extra flesh and sealing that with fixative A. This will help the entire thing blend together. Then I'm going to be taking all the extra scales that I had, layering down layers of liquid latex, and then individually putting on the scales. Again, this is a long process, but it really pulls the entire look together and makes it look like you don't just have a thing on your face, this is actually your face. I also created larger neck pieces that I laid down with the same liquid latex, and then I painted everything white. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Then I also applied ears using the same method of liquid latex and spirit gum. And then I started creating lines on my neck like the rings on a dragon. I started by putting down a small layer of light blue and then blended that out, and then went within that layer with a darker gray. Then I also highlighted that using a white cream paint and moved on. I'm going to be using a medium blue and contouring my face. We will hit the normal contouring spots like the temple and the cheekbones, but we're also going to be hitting up the eyebrows, the nostrils, and around the base of the horns. Then I added a little bit of extra flesh and some blood.
Okay, so this is the final look. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I put a lot of work and research into this. It was a lot of fun. Thank you all for subscribing to me and liking the videos. And thank you to everyone who does that. It means a lot to me, especially if you know the channel and people do that. It's a really cool feeling. It's a really cool thing because I really love this, and I learned that somebody thinks I'm good enough to do this. So thank you.
Now onto the fun parts, right? Fun fact, people think that the legend of the dragon first originated from a giant lizard that a hunter brought back to a fire. Lizards tend to have more concentrated methane in their stomachs and gases, and so when a hunter accidentally kicked the dragon, supposedly the giant lizard, it emitted that gas, and since it was by a fire, it looked like it was breathing fire. As for where the wings and claws came from, I'm going to chalk that up to the poetic licensing of storytelling. Also, yes, this is an ice dragon, and no, I am not in a snowy climate, but this is the best that I could pull off in 40-degree weather.
You can't help it, I was making a really funny face. Welcome to my bed. It is very cozy and warm. Hey, ice dragons get cold too, okay? And way more fun.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.